Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Please indicate for me if you are hearing me clearly. You can do so either by commenting via your microphone or you can use the chat. Just indicate that you're hearing me clearly, please. Thank you very much. Thank you for joining us today for the Sharpe Teachers College 2019-2020 Awards Ceremony. Now that I know that I have your attention, I will begin our ceremony for today. Before March 2020, teachers were walking through the aisles of classrooms, inhaling the nervousness of new students, reacting quickly and sternly to the squeak of desks, eyeing students who were stealing glances at smart devices. All this time, teachers were ensuring that the whiteboards were spotless for the day's proceedings. And while doing all of this, we were also paying attention to our attire, our use of space, and our nonverbal communication. For students themselves, that was a time to hug each other, literally offer a pat on the back, inspect their own attire, locate classrooms, seek the best benches, plan timed responses to the smallest hint that their lecturers were on the corridor, heading towards their classrooms. And if all else failed, in case the students were unprepared for class, they could always choose to be absent. Today, however, things have changed. The human species has once again been challenged by a small but deadly enemy. The novel coronavirus has found a way to turn one of our greatest needs, the desire to interact with each other, into a life or death situation. But as we have always done, when our species has been challenged, we have found a way to continue to grow. We opened our homes and more so our minds to the new normal as we traversed in teams towards the challenges of online education and zoomed our way to expertise. Our students themselves worked along with us and they not only survived, they thrived. Today, we meet to celebrate those students who in the past year have excelled regardless of the challenges. We are meeting today to celebrate our students who have surmounted the many obstacles to excel in their studies, as well as those who have demonstrated admirable soft skills that complement the definition of the college's motto: service, commitment, and excellence. Welcome to the Sharpe Teachers College Awards Ceremony for academic year 2019-2020. I'm your host, Norty Antoine. Our theme for this year is excellence through perseverance. I will say that again, excellence through perseverance. A special welcome is extended to our eloquent guest speaker, Professor Sylvester Bowie, our dapper chairman of the Board of Management, Mr. Reid, our articulate principal, Dr. Lorna Gow-Morrison, the reputable Chaplain, Reverend Godfrey Francis, and other members of the clergy. Our distinguished awardees, the true reason why we're meeting here today, the outstanding members of the Sharpe alumni community, and of course, the reliable and the hardworking members of the academic, administrative, and ancillary staff, family, friends, and other invited guests. Welcome, welcome. As we proceed, I am going to ask you to keep your microphones muted for the duration of the program. While we announce the recipients, however, for the various awards, you are free to fill our chat section with messages of congratulations and multiple supportive emojis. That's the way we are celebrating today. The program today will begin, of course, with the National Anthem. Afterwards, I'll give you a brief overview of what we are in for today. Sit back, relax, celebrate our achievements with us. Thank you for joining us for this, our 2019-2020 award ceremony. We will now have the National Anthem. Thank you. So that was our national anthem. Let me give you a brief overview of what we will be doing today. So we will begin, of course, with the opening prayer by our Reverend Godfrey Francis, who is our chaplain. We'll have a hymn, and then we'll have the scripture reading. We will be welcomed by our principal, Dr. Lorna Gow-Morrison. We will have greetings from Mr. Norman Reid, our chairman, and then we will get right into hearing from our guest speaker, Dr. Sylvester Jim Bowie. And afterwards, we're going to get into hearing the awardees for the academic year 2019-2020. So we move right along into our opening prayer by Reverend Godfrey Francis. Over to you, Reverend.
Let us unite in prayer. Let us pray. Today, God, we give you thanks for your loving kindness and your tender mercies. Today, we give you thanks that in the midst of all that befalls us in life, we are still able to celebrate, and we are still able to commemorate those who have worked hard and who have achieved satisfactory results to cause them to be seen as suitable and worthy to be awarded. Today, then, we give you thanks for inspiration and encouragement that comes from activities like we rejoice in them because they speak of partnership, each one helping another. They speak of discipline. They speak of dedication. They speak of success. They speak of promise of good things to come. So in this moment, we dedicate this service, this ceremony to you, placing ourselves completely in your hands, thanking you for those who have invested in the lives of others, and those then who, having received the investment, have shown good results. We pray that you'll bless this institution and that you'll bless all the stakeholders, and that in every way you'll reveal yourself as the God who is faithful and unfailing, and cause us to be careful to give you the praise, the honor, and the glory, now and always. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Francis.
Most welcome.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am looking in the chat and I'm already seeing some comments of congratulations. You are free to send your messages of congratulations early, all right? So feel free to send those messages. Thank you again for joining us on this day to celebrate our students' achievements. All right, we will now have a hymn that will be led by Ms. Johnson, our Senior Library Assistant. Thy rise, Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I apologize, Ms. Johnson, for that mix-up. I seem to be suffering from a vision issue from the many weeks of teaching online. So, ladies and gentlemen, you will realize that I've now enhanced my vision to ensure that I don't have such a mix-up again. All right, we're going to hear from Ms. Johnson now with the...
Good afternoon. Our scripture reading today will be taken from 2 Corinthians chapter 8, and I'll be reading from verses 2 to 7. In the midst of a very severe trial, their overflowing joy and their extreme poverty were welled up in rich generosity. For I testify that they gave as much as they were able, and even beyond their ability. Entirely on their own, they urgently pleaded with us for the privilege of sharing in this service to the Lord's people. And they exceeded our expectations. They gave themselves first for all to the Lord, and then by the will of God also to us. So we urge Titus, just as he had earlier made a beginning, to bring also to completion this act of grace on your part. But since you excel in everything, in faith, in speech, in knowledge, in complete earnestness, and in the love we have kindled into you, so that see that you also excel in his grace of giving. Here endeth a portion of God's holy word. We honor it by saying, thanks be to God.
Ladies and gentlemen, thanks be to God indeed for the many blessings that we have gained throughout these difficult times. We are now going to hear from our principal and then our board chairman. The principal will welcome us and our board chairman will bring greetings. Dr. Gow-Morrison, over to you.
Chairman of the Board of Management, Mr. Norman Reid, and other members of the board, Chaplain Reverend Godfrey Francis and other members of the clergy, guest speaker, Professor Sylvester Bowie, Master of Ceremonies, Mr. Norty, Antoine, distinguished awardees, members of the Sam Sharpe alumni community, members of the academic, administrative, and ancillary staff, family, friends, my colleagues in training, and other invited guests, good afternoon. I give thanks that I'm joining you at this time when we are all facing challenges related to the global pandemic, and this time at which we're all exploring many possibilities and opportunities for us to connect in previously, in some instances, unexplored ways. I'm happy to be joining you at this time during this season of Thanksgiving and gift giving. And as I speak about the season of Thanksgiving, I thank each of you here for being here with us. I thank each of you for the ways through which you have acted to ensure that the Sam Sharpe Teachers College continues to meet its goals and also to live its motto and vision. I thank each of you for your commitment to growth through education. It's your commitment to growth through education that has resulted in students exploring their educational journeys through remote learning and just exploration of the virtual landscape. It's through your commitment to educational growth that lecturers students, members of the Board of Management, and other stakeholders continue to explore ways through which we can better learn together, learn from each other, and just empower each other to overcome challenges and grow. It's the season of Thanksgiving, and I thank each of you for the words of encouragement you shared to self and others. Words of encouragement that have resulted in us being here in this ceremony to celebrate with those who have persevered in ways that showcase excellence, that have resulted in us being here to laud those who continue to demonstrate excellence as a result of perseverance. And so I thank each of you for the ways in which you have been persevering. It's through perseverance that you have ensured that you have been adhering to the safety guidelines from the Ministry of Health and Wellness and other stakeholders. It's through your commitment to safety for self and others that you have been ensuring that you have been persevering through wearing of masks and just ensuring that as you interact within the learning space, you are not letting the newness and the constant changes and challenges prevent you from doing what we have to do to just give thanks for life and help others to live and give thanks. As we persevere with excellence, and as we seek excellence through perseverance, I want you to be mindful of a number of dates. Be mindful that semester 1 continues until January 13, Be mindful that on January 4, classes will resume for this semester. Also, we give thanks for our Year 4 students who have persevered and have demonstrated commitment to achieving their educational goals. And as a result, will participate in the Teachers Colleges of Jamaica in collaboration with the University of the West Indies, coming together to have the virtual graduation ceremony on January 16th, 2021. My students, especially my Year 1 students who are still wondering if they are at the secondary level or if they have transitioned to the tertiary level. We have been looking at ways through which we can better assist you to facilitate the transition. And I thank the seniors, my Year 2, 3, and 4 students who have been assisting our Year 1 students to understand and manifest tertiary education. And my Year 1 students, we're looking forward to the ways in which you will showcase your learning during our examination period in January. But for all of you who will sit examinations, the first semester examinations will be January 18th to 29, 2021. And our CMU students will sit examinations January 4 to 15, 2021. I met some of my year one colleagues earlier who were anxiously awaiting Miss Rowe to collect their letters that they will take with them as they enjoy their year one practicum next year. Their year one practicum will take place in February 8th to 12th. And while I interacted with my year one students, at no time did anyone share a word or an attitude that seemed to indicate that they were not looking forward to it. And so I thank you for your disposition, my year one students. You will enjoy the practicum. And we know that our year four students who will enjoy practicum during February 8th to May 7, 2021 are eagerly looking forward to that time when they will engage in the practicum using possibly diverse modalities. Because contingent on what happens where COVID is concerned, we might use face-to-face, we might use blended, and our year four students have the disposition that will result in them doing exceptionally well as they seek excellence through perseverance. You are members of the Sharpe Teachers College family, and you will showcase excellence. And it's not only our year four full-time, we have our year five evening college students as well who are looking forward to engaging in the practical. Colleagues, we're still in semester one and semester two awaits. Each of us has educational goals. Each of us is a member of the Sharpe Teachers College family. And each of us will continue to with excellence and do well as together we navigate in ways that say we are living service, commitment, excellence. And so for all participants in this forum, I thank you for being here, and I thank you for the ways in which you have been acting to ensure that the college continues to blaze trails of excellence. Welcome to this ceremony, and may this ceremony be a blessing. May this ceremony be filled with nuggets of inspiration as we celebrate a season of hope, a season of joy, a season of thanksgiving, and a season in which we'll all do what is necessary to remain safe and help others to remain safe. Welcome, and once again, congratulations and thank you.
Thank you, Madam Principal. We will now hear from the board chairman, Mr. Norman Reid, but before he begins, I want to say welcome to those persons who are just joining us. Thank you for joining us in this moment of celebration. We are asking, just as a reminder, that you keep your microphones muted, and we will update you more as we progress. You are free, however, to send your congratulatory messages in the chat. Mr. Reid, are you there, sir? Sir Reid, are you there?
Yes, I am here, Mr. Antoine. Thank you very much. Reverend Godfrey Francis, our school chaplain, Mr. Norty Antoine, chair of today's function. Our special guest speaker, Dr. Jim Bowie. Principal, Dr. Lorna Gow-Morrison. Members of the board, members of faculty, student teachers, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I commend this afternoon all the recipients of awards at this year's award ceremony. Indeed, I do so knowing very well that 2020 has been a very difficult year for students and faculty alike. And guess what? 2021 will not be any easier. I therefore commend not only the awardees, but the entire student body of this college for the way they have adjusted to this new norm. And even as you receive your prizes and awards for academic performance, let me also challenge you to go after other awards and recognitions that are now available in this space for youth, for young people. I speak of the Prime Minister's Youth Awards with its multiple categories. I speak of scholarships and bursaries available through government agencies. I speak of other private sector awards. I speak of leadership opportunities for those who wish to serve short periods of attachment. And I speak also of overseas attachments, which will, in the long run, broaden your horizon. So even as I commend and I congratulate you, I ask that you do not see Sam Sharpe as that small pond, but that you commence thinking of those bigger awards and accolades that await you all. I congratulate you all, and I ask that you continue to do well in your studies. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Sir Reid. That was Mr. Norman Reid, our board chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, it is safe to say we are trending. We have 325 persons viewing our award ceremony, and we are very pleased that you are here to celebrate our students' successes. At this time, we are going to hear the introduction of our guest speaker, Dr. Sylvester Bowie, and that introduction will be done by Miss Carolee Samuels. Let me correct that. My student, Miss Carolee Samuels. Miss Samuels, are you there?
I'm here. Good afternoon, and good afternoon to all our participants. Our guest speaker for today, Dr. Sylvester Jim Bowie, is a full-time professor of social work in the Faculty of Health and Human Services at the California State University, Sacramento. He's a past student of the Ocho Rios High School, from where he progressed to this, our noble institution, Sharpe Teachers College, where he pursued his teaching certificate. He later attended the University of the West Indies, and from there, he pursued his bachelor's degree and later his master's degree in social work at California State University. In 2003, Professor Bowie was awarded his doctorate in education from the University of San Francisco. His experience consists of being a full-time professor, a part-time instructor at the California State University, as well as director of the undergraduate social work program. He also served on 4 reaccreditation teams while teaching both graduate and undergraduate students. Definitely a man of excellence. Professor Bowie's experience has largely comprised the years of social work that encapsulates his life of helping and continued service to others. This has been illustrated in his roles as a teacher and assistant superintendent, where he provided classroom instruction for school-aged children living in group homes and detention centers, diagnostic assessment in the screening of children to be admitted into treatment programs, recruiting and training foster parents, providing management of assigned caseloads, formulating and implementing reunification plans for parents to reduce circumstances which led to dependency of children, conducting ongoing assessment of case progress, assisting adopting parents to file petitions, and providing information on pre- and post-adoption information to the public. Not only does Professor Bowie serve others, but he is actively involved in academia as a co-writer of numerous publications on social work and social welfare. A recipient of numerous honors and awards, lifetime member in a group of societies, and presenter at various conferences, workshops, and trainings throughout the United States and the Caribbean. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you a man of excellence, our guest speaker for today, Professor Sylvester Jim Bowie.
Thank you, Carly.
Okay, so thanks again, Chairman of the Board of Management, Mr. Norman Reid, and other members of the board, Principal Dr. Lorna Gow-Morrison, Chaplain, the Reverend Godfrey Francis, and other members of the clergy, Master of Ceremonies, Mr. Norty Antoine, distinguished awardees, members of the Sam Sharpe alumni community, members of the academic, administrative, and ancillary staff, family, friends, and other invited guests. It is with gratitude and humility that I am before you today. I want to, first of all, honor my ancestors, my elders, my siblings, my friends, batchmates, Go class of 78, former instructors at Sharpe Teachers College, and I'm especially mentioning Mr. Crick and Mr. Stewart. I also want to honor my parents because together they all kept me grounded and very confident. I also appreciate the support of special friends Earl, Patrick, Stedman, who over the years have been my groundation, my support, and my rock. To God be the glory. And we especially want to celebrate these our deserving students today. I want to start with a question about our emotions and what we're feeling today. And so I want you to, if I can get my screen to cooperate, I want you to look at these emotions that have been displayed and maybe think of which one best describe you joining this event today. And as you contemplate your own feeling, I want to say, please cherish this very special moment. Never again in the history of the world will there be this opportunity to be with all these people in one place, to meet in this fashion with these feelings. And so since this will never happen again, cherish this moment, cherish this feeling, and just think how blessed you all are for this once in a lifetime opportunity to be in the space and with these people. And again, I say, think of the emotions that you might be feeling. I graduated from this institution back many years ago, and I'm not sure what my emotions were then. Maybe you could take a look at this photo and tell me what you think I might have been feeling then. Maybe some of you could take a guess. But all photos aside, I'm honored and I'm blessed to be given this opportunity to try and have your attention for a few minutes. As I ruminate on this theme of your special event, the idea of your theme, excellence through perseverance. This is the story of many of the graduates of this very young institution. It was only 45 years ago, in 1975, that this little college on the hill started with a ragtag army of students and some dedicated faculty and staff. It was the year on January 3, 1975, The first woman ambassador, Carmen Paris, was appointed by Jamaica as ambassador to France. It was the year in March of 1975, Michael Jackson, along with other Jackson 5 members, performed at the National Stadium in Kingston, Jamaica. They also visited Tivoli Gardens and were hosted by former Prime Minister Edward Seaga at a reception. Samuel Sharpe was hanged in Montego Bay in 1832, and in 1975, Sharpe was proclaimed a national hero of Jamaica, and the main square of the town was renamed in his honor, and this college is also named after him. Over the years, the terms service, commitment, and excellence have been drilled in every batch of students that have passed through the gates of the college in Granville. To head up the hill, to learn what they can, and to can what they learn. They learn to take ideas back to their communities from whence they came. I want to start, bearing in mind your theme, with defining the terms to operationalize the discussion that I'll share with you today. So, according to the Oxford Advanced Learner's Dictionary, excellence is a noun, and it means that I'm quoting here, the quality of being extremely good. Synonyms include excellent, outstanding, perfect, superb, marvelous, exceptional. Then the term perseverance, also a noun, means the quality of continuing to try to achieve a particular aim despite difficulties. Synonyms include persistence, determination, grit, resolution, diligence, doggedness, stubbornness. Perseverance is evidence that success was not a guarantee, nor did it come at first try or effort. I'm sure all of you have heard of the great Henry Ford. Before founding the extremely successful Ford Motor Company, he was previously bankrupt and left penniless 5 times from failed venture. One can therefore appreciate that persistence is one of the hallmarks of excellence that comes from perseverance. Let me mention, by way of passing, some people who persevered in their pursuit of excellence, a journey that is without end. You have all heard of Albert Einstein, and when we hear the name Einstein, we think genius. So although it is now almost exclusively associated with genius, young Albert was viewed as much of a not such as a prospective scholar. His parents and teachers began to think he was mentally handicapped and socially awkward due to the fact that he did not begin to speak until age 4 or read until he was 7. Einstein was eventually expelled from school and denied entry to the most prestigious Zurich Polytechnic School. And the rest is history. We know that. Then there is Jimmy Adams, and no, not the cricketer. He opined that everything meaningful or good that we do in this life will be opposed by at least one of 3 sources. And I want you to follow me here. The first one, he says, is ourselves. And you know, in Romans chapter 7, verses 15 through 19, the scripture speaks of fears and doubts, sensuality and rebellion and ignorance. Number 2, Jimmy Adams says, is others. So the first one is ourselves, the next one is others, and 3 is Satan, that the devil, the deceiver, the liar. 1 Peter 5 and 8 speaks of demonic influences, temptation, deception, seductions. The opportunity to success, the opposition, I should say, to success is self, others, and Satan. And so I encourage you never to allow any of these to stand in the way. But we have the promise and a reminder in James chapter 1 and verse 22 when it says, "Blessed is the man who remains steadfast on the trial, for when he has stood the test, he will receive the crown of life which God has promised to those who love him." It is true that perseverance does manifest itself in excellence. And this is how Maya Angelou describes it when she reminds us, and I'm quoting here, "You may encounter many defeats, but you must not be defeated. In fact, it may be necessary to encounter the defeats so that you can know who you are, what you can rise from, how you can still come out of it." End of quote. You here today who are being honored and rewarded have shown excellence through your perseverance. And the truth is, as stated by the famous football coach, Lou Holt, and I'm quoting here, you aren't going to find anybody that's going to be successful without making a sacrifice and without perseverance. All of you have attained success because you were willing to sacrifice and you refused to give up. Romans chapter 5 verses 3 through 5 says it beautifully. Not only that, but we rejoice in our suffering, knowing that suffering produces endurance, and endurance produces character, and character produces hope. And hope does not put us to shame because God's love has been poured out into our hearts through the Holy Spirit who has been given to us. We surely thank God for anointing all of you with the spirit of perseverance, and the result is your excellence in performance. One of the things I've been told is that perseverance can contribute to a long marriage. Oh, by the way, I should also maybe pause to suggest this to us, that if you're feeling me, since like you've been told to mute your mic, then like put some emoji in the chat. It's nice to know that I'm not just speaking to myself, but I'm speaking to people who are hearing and feeling me. So please feel free to let me know that you're feeling me, and it will encourage me to continue on. So a reporter was doing a human interest story for a local newspaper and was interviewing an elderly couple celebrating 60 years of marriage. The obvious question the reporter posed was, "What's a secret to a long marriage?" "Oh," the man stated, "it's all about perseverance. On our honeymoon, we went to the Grand Canyon and rode on mules down the trail. Well, my new wife's mule bucked her off and she fell on the ground. She just yelled, 'That's one,' and got right back on the mule. A couple minutes later, the mule did it again. He bucked her off again and she fell to the ground and she just yelled, 'That too,' and got back on the mule. When the mule did it a third time, she yelled, 'That's three,' took out a gun and shot the mule dead." The reporter was shocked at the story and asked, "How did that relate to a long marriage?" And the man replied, "Well, I told her that was no way to treat a mule. And she looked at me and said, 'That's one.' And so our marriage has held together because I do not want my wife to start counting to three." Let me talk a little about when I was a student at Sam Sharpe and you as student at Sam Sharpe. My own experience is a way of making the point of congratulating all of you who are being honored with awards and reward for hard work, for dedication, and for demonstrating excellence through persistence. First, let me be declarative in stating that as a student at Sharpe Teachers College, the words service, commitment, and excellence were drilled into me and all of us. But I was not the epitome of any of them. Yet it is so prescient that the founders chose those words And you today are examples as highlighted in your program's theme, Excellence Through Persistence. I never failed a class at the college, but I never got an A either. And I got some of the lowest grades that you could make and still pass a class. One thing I know is that I was persistent in getting my low but passing grades. You, on the other hand, you are the exact opposite end of the spectrum. You are excellent, you're outstanding, you're almost perfect, you're superb, marvelous, and exceptional. I want to share the story to make the point about the kind of perseverance that you have done and are doing. How many of you have heard the name Ray Kroc? If you have, just give me an indication in the screen by saying yes or no. Yeah, I'm not surprised. Not a lot of people have heard of him. What about McDonald's? I'm sure, yes. I can see that you have heard of McDonald's. Some of you go to the McDonald's downtown Montego Bay to join the long line to get a burger from time to time. Well, this is a story of perseverance, a story that shows that you can succeed at any time in your life. Without Ray Kroc, McDonald's would have been a one-location burger chain in San Bernardino, California. And according to the Biz Insider, Kroc was the 50-year-old struggling milkshake machine salesman who lived a comfortable life, but he craved more. He met the brothers behind McDonald's and eventually convinced them of a franchise model to grow the brand. This led to a massive expansion, buying the land where all locations operate, and it has grown into the McDonald's we know today. So this is what McDonald's look like today. They started in 1940 as a one-location burger chain. The burgers were originally 15 cents. They hire about 1 million workers each year in the US, not to talk about internationally, including Jamaica. McDonald's is a $27 billion in revenue company, making it the 90th largest economy in the world, all because of the persistence of a struggling milkshake machine salesman. So my suggestion to you, dream big, shoot for the stars. God will never let you do less than he has promised that you will do. So after leaving Sam Sharpe, I can say assuredly that the things that you have learned at the top of the hill in Granville will stay with you for life, as it has with me in the 39 years since I graduated from the college on the hill. Me and my many batchmates were taught an idea with the acronym POST-DC. And I know I have colleagues on this line today who, as soon as I say POST-DC, will remember that it stands for planning, organizing, staffing, directing, and controlling. We'll never forget. And I learned that 40 years ago. And it is still, as soon as somebody say POST-DC, if I'm in my sleep, I can just tell them it's planning, organizing, staffing, directing, controlling. And if I were to sound like the guy who used to tell us this, planning, organizing, staffing, directing, controlling. So I want to encourage you to ensure that the three words, service, commitment, and excellence, be the ideas and the ideals that you take with you wherever you go. And let the theme of today's event be your guiding principles for the vast expanse that is laid before you. Some of you in your first year, others up to the fifth for advanced credit. I hope that you continue working to give your most excellent best and that you will persevere regardless of your circumstances. So I want to share 5 steps to use as a guide for continuing what you have started today. And so let me be clear. You are way ahead of where people like me were when we attended the institution. People like me were not inclined to be excellent. You have accomplished the high honors you are being recognized with today because you have persevered. So here is what I should also make clear, that the ideas that I'm sharing with you today are not my original ideas. I cannot take credit for them, but the application is certainly mine based on my lived experiences. These ideas are from one Joseph Campbell, and I want to say, I've found these ideas to have served me well, and so I share them with you as tools to be placed in your toolboxes that you can draw on in times when you start thinking beyond COVID, beyond 2020, beyond being a student at the college on the hill in your first or your final year. Remember, you came to Sharpe Teachers College to receive an education. And the word education is derived from the Latin word educare, which means to bring up. They say the e means of and the duco means to lead. That is, to educate means to lead forth or to extract out the best in people. All that have been poured into you on this hill will be drawn out of you over and over again in the years to come, and you will lead forth because of your excellence. So the 5 steps that I want to share with you about maintaining excellence through perseverance. The first step is to lock down your motivation. Lock down your motivations. Be clear what your motivations are and be locked into them. I decided I wanted to be a professor, and so I knew I had to get the best grades and be focused on my goal. Yes, I started late, but once I decided what I wanted to do, then I was locked into my motivation. You need a clear understanding and drive regarding your motivations. Lock into your motivation and focus like a laser beam. You will meet mountains, but you climb over or you go around. If you stop, it is only to rest. Only start measuring the mountain after you have reached the top. Let me say that again. Only start measuring the mountain after you have reached the top. The second step for maintaining excellence through perseverance is to establish role models for yourself. Identify the role models you want to emulate and study them and know about them, and if possible, meet them and share your interest. The third step is to understand your historical context. Understand your historical context. Antoine Burgess reminds us that it is always good to remember where you come from and to celebrate it. To remember where you come from is part of where you're going. Sometimes, when you remember the support and the love that was poured into you, it is a great motivation to bear witness to a more excellent way. The Negro spiritual says it well: no turning back, no turning back. I must continue forward on this excellent journey, and I'm willing to persevere and not give up. The friendships I cultivated at Sharpe Teachers College will be with me for life. Keith, Peter, Maxwell, Grantley, partners for life. Being mindful of your historical context keep you grounded, and it is always a source of motivation. Remember, honor, cherish, and treasure those elders who shared their wisdom, who shared their love, and yes, who shared their money to help you along the way. Know and value your history. The fourth step is to maintain focus. Maintain your focus. Keep your eyes on the prize. There will be distractions and pitfalls. But as the song reminds us, I will rise again. Never lose your focus. Henry Kissinger, the former Secretary of State, said it this way: if you do not know where you're going, every road will lead nowhere. The fifth step to maintaining excellence through perseverance is to find a way forward. Paul was writing to his son in the gospel. And in 2 Timothy 4:7, it says, I have fought a good fight. I have finished my course. I have kept the faith. You must find a way through challenges because you will face them. Just as you have found a way to be at the top of the performance ladder here at Sharpe Teachers College, you must find a way forward as you face the challenges ahead. Remember, this is the beginning, not the end. Even though my grades were not stellar while a student at the college, I was still motivated to find a way forward and to continue working to be what I wanted to become. Remember, greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. Put no limit on your ability and desire to finding a way forward. After all, you're more than conquerors, and you're special. And there are those who are looking to have their dreams fulfilled through you vicariously. And remember that God is not finished working on you yet. Seek and you will find the way forward. As you work on these steps, remember how important it is to collaborate. And especially to collaborate with members of the team. You know, I've found that two heads are always better than one, that no man is an island, and that no man stands alone. You must work with others like driver and navigator, writer and editor, P and pod. You must interface, affiliate, and confederate. Let me share a story maybe to drive home the point I'm trying to make. How many of you have heard of Jack Ma? Yeah, maybe not many. So, if you haven't heard of Jack Ma, he is the richest man in Asia, worth about $39 billion. And he runs one of the largest companies in China called Alibaba. But he wasn't a genius who instantly created this amazing company. He faced rejection his entire life. He applied for 30 different jobs, including the police and KFC, and was rejected. In addition, he applied and got denied 10 different times from Harvard. But after discovering the internet in the mid-90s, he understood the possibilities that existed. He went on to create several companies despite all the rejection he had previously faced. So I say, believe in yourself. Believe in yourself. If Jack could have listened to others, he would have accepted all the rejections and lived a life of mediocrity. Instead, he kept going, built an incredible business, and impacts millions of lives every single day. And by the way, he spoke at Harvard at commencement speech, the same school that rejected him 10 times. So I want to thank you for your attention, and may the holidays, including Christmas, bring joy and happiness. My final idea to share with you about working is about working with others or collaboration. So in the end, excellence through perseverance is a high calling, and you have done that. Congratulations, and may God continue to pour into you so that you can bring out the best that you're capable of. So I want to thank you for this opportunity to share with you. I leave you with this by Ryan Holiday. The extent of the struggle determines the extent of the growth. The obstacle is an advantage, not adversity. The enemy is any perception that prevents us from seeking this. Lock down your motivations, establish role models, understand your history, stay focused, and find a way forward. Thank you. Gracias, danke, mahalo, mercy. Thank you.
Dr. Bowie, you did not say the Jamaican version, man. I'll give you another opportunity to add the Jamaican version for the thank you. Go ahead, sir.
Why me thank you, sir? I hope that works. No, I should say, how the thank you.
Indeed. I have another question for you, and I hope I'm not being a troublemaker. I was curious to hear how you got the name Jim. Could you just throw that in for us, please? How did you get the name Jim?
Of course. You know that every Jamaican, no, that I shouldn't state that. Being a scientist, I should never say that. You know that a lot of Jamaicans have a nickname, a pet name that is not their name. So Jim is completely not related to any of my names because my name is Sylvester George Bowie. I think when I was a child, somebody opined that I resemble some guy they call Uncle Jim. And I'm going to tell you a little secret. Nobody else is hearing. This is just between me and you. I am a carbon copy of my father. So the suggestion that I resembled that guy is without foundation. And by the way, I am told that Jamaica has the unenviable position or record for bogus paternity. But this was not one of the cases. I rest my case, but that's how I got the name Jim, you know, from this Uncle Jim. And all my friends call me Jim, so if you consider me a friend, Jim is always acceptable. I thank you very much. Howdy, thank you.
Thank you, sir. I thank you. As MC, as a young man, as an educator, I have to say personally and on behalf of everyone, thank you. Just listening to you, I had a formal thank you plan, but I'll show you something that I'm very proud of. I've taken notes. I have about 3 to 4 pages of notes here. And I hope that everyone who is joining us realize that as a teaching institution, we're big on taking notes. So my members of the audience, I have a question for you before I continue. So Dr. Bowie said to us that we should remember POSDC, POSDC. I want members of the audience to send in our chat, what is the meaning of the C in POSDC? He told us that we should engage in planning, organizing, staffing, directing. Thank you, Valicius Vassel. You responded quickly, and Covell Hall Golding as well. Controlling. I found your speech to represent the fact, sir, that you're a very grounded man. You're very passionate about what you do, right? You're historically and culturally aware, and I'm very thankful to have had this opportunity to listen to you speak here today. You echoed some of the key sentiments that I personally believe in, that we should cherish every moment. And within these moments are emotions that we should pay attention to. You also told us that perseverance is one of the required ingredients for excellence. And you reminded us of famous persons who themselves had to persevere to get to where they are. I will say that I found your analogy of marriage a little bit humorous and something for me to think about. But I thank you because the message was well received. I want to remind our audience of the 5 key things that you mentioned. I actually added them to the chat because I found them very important for my own progress and the progress of our students. 1, lock down your motivation. Lock down your motivation. 2, establish role models for yourself. 3, understand your historical context. And 4, maintain your focus. And the final one, number 5, was to find a way forward. And I think that message, that number 5, is most important, given the fact that we are in a pandemic where many of us have had to find a way forward. Sir, I thank you, thank you, thank you. You have been representing Sharpe Teachers College well, and we respect you for your contribution today. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are now going to hear from Anik Morris, who is a school counseling